Shall I do it in English or? Okay. It's better than my French. Okay, so why did the UK decide to leave the European Union? By a majority of less than 4%. You will hear this described as an overwhelming majority. It's not. And I think that's the first fact to put on the table. Also, that when we're talking about the results of the referendum, my colleagues in my party would want me to make very clear that this is in many ways an English result, and that this was not the result in Scotland, it was not the result in Northern Ireland, both of which parts of the United Kingdom voted to remain. Wales, I have some very embarrassed Welsh friends because they voted leave, but London also voted remain, and I'm elected from the region of London, so I'm very proud of that. And I think that when you're looking at that, what my colleagues, as I say, from Green parties in other parts of the UK will tell me, is that the issue of immigration, which you mentioned, plays very differently in different parts of the UK. In Scotland, it's a very positive response to immigration. The Scottish government says we need more people coming to Scotland. We need more people here. You know, we have work, we have opportunities. We need you. London has one of the highest rates of immigration over the years of anywhere, I suspect, in the European Union. And the parts of London which voted most positively for Remain are also the parts which have the highest number both of migrants and also people of a migrant background. So this is not just about a particular view of migration. What we can see is areas that, a lot of the areas that voted to leave are areas which have seen a considerable number of, in their eyes, not in everybody's eyes, but a considerable number of people coming in, mainly from the European Union, within the last 10 years. And this has been, for them, quite a rapid rate of change. And that is seen by a lot of analysts as the important factor. It was the rate of change. And then a feeling that this, of course, is migration which is not managed. People have an absolute free choice to come to the UK from elsewhere in the European Union. And a lot of people forget that that also means we have people from the UK a reciprocal right to move elsewhere in the European Union as well. But a lot of people only see it as one-way traffic. And that, I think, leads to another of the aspects of the referendum result, which is the role played by significant parts of the British media, not just in the campaign itself, but over the years beforehand, where, for example, if you read the Daily Mail, and this, I mean, I'm not asking you to read the Daily Mail, let me be clear. But it is the paper which has the largest English language online presence in the world. The Daily Mail, the Daily Express, which are not quite tabloids, but not much better, I don't think have ever had a positive headline about the European Union since the UK joined. There's research from Cardiff University and Loughborough University which may actually back me up on that. I don't think it's just my opinion. And also they are papers which have a pretty unrelenting attitude towards migration, wherever it is from. And in fact, there are complaints at the moment to our press authority about the recent coverage by those papers and a couple of others of Calais, and in particular pictures of children in Calais, running with the headline, "Do these look like children to you?" effectively. So you've got that sort of mix. But the other thing that we can see as well from the referendum is that areas that voted to leave in general are also areas where people have a lower educational attainment. That does not mean, as some would have it, that they're stupid. This is people who, for whatever reason, have not got a particularly high level of education, don't know much about the European Union, and therefore you could present the European Union as a project for the elite. That the European Union is a project for people with money, people who have opportunities, people who have choices, and people in a number of parts of the UK that voted to leave do not feel that they have those same opportunities and choices. Therefore, you can link the European Union as the source of all your problems, you know? And I think the referendum campaign that was run became very much for the media a story about divisions in the Conservative Party. So therefore there was very little opportunity to really challenge the idea that actually if you were losing services in your area, if you were on low pay, if you're on temporary contracts, 0 hours contracts for some people, that's actually a choice made by the British government, not necessarily by the European Union. And if you haven't got people putting that out there and saying, look, the government has cut funding for your local authority by 50% in the last few years, it's not surprising that you are seeing your services disappearing. The fact that you have a number of EU nationals coming in at the same time is not the reason that your services are under stress. It's because the British government has chosen a path of austerity. Didn't have to. That wasn't being forced on it by the European Union as it has been on some countries. This was a government choice. So you had all these things mixed, and I have to say there are days when I am amazed that the Remain camp, of which I am one, got 48% of the vote. Given all of those circumstances, thank God there were a lot of young people who came out and voted in favour of staying, and also, you know, as I say, there are different attitude in various parts of the country. So what have we seen since? You will have read a lot of the press reports about the rise in hate speech, in hate attacks in the UK against people that are simply perceived to be different. A lot of these people will be British citizens, but, you know, if you're looking for a fight, if you want, you know, if you want to feel that now you're English and you're superior again, as we have been over the centuries, I mean, this is really a throwback to, you know, the days where we're missing the colonies, I think, which is a horrendous perspective to have at the moment. But, you know, we are seeing this rise in hate speech, hate incidents against people of different faith backgrounds, different colours, skin colours, speaking different languages. Some friend of mine was telling me recently that her brother-in-law was beaten up because somebody thought he was speaking Polish. You know, so this, for some people in the UK, has now almost become a crime to speak Polish. But then, of course, you have had Nigel Farage. I tried to do speeches without mentioning his name, but it's not always possible. Who set a tone for saying, I feel uncomfortable when I'm on a train in London, and I hear people speaking lots of other languages, not English. He's married to a German, by the way. You know, but this is the tone that has been set, and it's not a sudden thing for the referendum. It has been pushed there to make the referendum possible. We have seen a Conservative government that has chosen to move towards the sort of the populism of the United Kingdom Independence Party, partly because there are also people in the Conservative Party who feel very strongly that they want to be out of the European Union in order to be able to make their own decisions for Parliament to be sovereign, which are quite legitimate reasons. But, you know, what has happened is you've had a Conservative government which has shifted more and more to the agenda of the UK Independence Party to try and protect its own power as the Conservative Party and party of government. And we are now in a situation where we have voted to leave the European Union. We don't know what that means. The correct answer to almost any question about leaving is nobody really knows. But what we do know is that we have a country with a constitutional crisis coming because of the situation in Northern Ireland and Scotland. That it's a country which is now more divided, I think, than it has ever been, and where those of us in the equalities movement, the anti-racist movement, have a lot of work to do to actually get us back on track as a country that can be proud of its policies on diversity, proud of being a country that people want to come to because they feel comfortable there and can be themselves. And we have that work to do at a time when we have seen the nationalist rhetoric of the English certainly at its strongest point that I can remember. And as you can see, you know, I'm not a teenager. And this, I think, is a real challenge for us, but also some lessons there, I think, and some parallels maybe with what is happening in other countries.